I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to best present this speech. Having done a lot of research, finding out sometimes people present it in the form of a poem or a song. You'll be pleased to know that I do recognise the limit of my talents. And the last time I tried singing, one of my neighbours called the RSPCA thinking I was torturing a cat. So, got thinking, what could I do? Maybe I could present it in the style of Brian Blessed, which may have got some laughs, but would probably have ended up damaging your hearing. So, I thought, what's the easiest thing I can do that's going to have people laughing and falling about on the floor? And I thought I'd just dress up silly instead. I'd like to start by thanking you, Rod, for your toast and kind wishes, and to you, Wendy, Pamela, Rob, Bev, and of course not forgetting the most important people, Lightning, Orchid and Frisky, for welcoming me into the family. Family, friends, work colleagues, speaking on behalf of both my new wife and I, and making the most of it while I can. Thank you all for joining with us here on our special day. We're delighted that you've able to come along and be part of our celebrations, which of course have only just begun. Carolyn, what can I say? You look lovely. As much as I hate secrets, and it was so difficult not knowing anything about the dress, the wait was worth it. Stunning. And I'm sure everyone will agree. I've gained a beautiful wife who is warm, loving, caring, easygoing. Sorry, I can't read your writing. Who always has time for other people and a great sense of humour. And you have gained no stress and a bunch of flowers. Thank you for marrying me and making me the happiest man in the world today. As I'm sure Carolyn will tell you, I'm often wrong. But in marrying Carolyn, I know I've made the right decision. Now, some years ago, my grandfather wrote out part of his life story, and up until now, I've really not quite grasped his closing words. I don't know why it is, but a woman looks her finest on her wedding day. She positively glows. Whereas the groom, apart from the silly grin on his face, looks the same. The thing I remember is standing at the altar with Brother George as best man and hearing the rustle of a wedding gown and the footsteps of my future wife and life coming closer to stand by my side. Now, although Carolyn is just as often by my side in Azeroth, as we now play World of Warcraft together, yes, I bet you didn't know she was online gaming now. There's a lot of surprises in this otherwise shy person I've been pleased to discover over the last couple of years. But Grandad's statement makes so much more sense now. I think Carolyn has also surprised herself a little with how creative she's been in all the preparations too, particularly with the lovely favours which I know you'll enjoy later. She also worked on the table centrepieces, although I did help with it too. If yours has a nice neat ribbon, she did it. If not, I did it. But without wishing to sound too much like Bruce Forsyth, didn't she do well? Now, you may remember Gary's reading earlier on today during the ceremony and be aware of all the horror stories you hear of weirdos meeting on the internet. Well, you're looking at two people that prove such stories are false. Well, some of them anyway. I'm certainly no mad axe murderer. At least I've never harmed an axe in my life. For those of you that have known me for some years, I'm sure you would agree with me that perhaps I'm not always the easiest of people to get on with. Whether by design or pure luck, Carolyn is one of those strange people that seems to be able to get on with me, which I guess has to be a good thing. We do seem to be very well suited though, often thinking of the same thing and frequently
completing each other's sentences.
It has been said that love isn't finding someone that you can live with, but finding someone you can't live without. And I'm very glad I found you. To be honest, our relationship can be summed up very nicely in a little quote from the internationally acclaimed academic, Dr. Seuss, who wrote, "We're all a little weird, and life's a little weird. And when we find someone whose weirdness is compatible with ours, we join up with them and fall in mutual weirdness and call it love." Of course, our backgrounds are very different. Carolyn arriving from posh commuter belt Surrey, where the oiks drive tractors. and me coming from deepest, darkest agricultural Somerset, where everybody drives tractors. Anyway, when I was born, the well-known rock classic School's Out by Alice Cooper was #1. Carolyn's birth #1, long-haired lover from Liverpool. Carolyn's birth was fairly straightforward, late evening, almost on time, relatively uneventful, although delayed by an hour or so due to Wendy's refusal to go to the hospital, despite labour pains apparently stating, "I'm not having my baby until I've had my Lancashire hot pot." I arrived 2 weeks early, mid-afternoon, and as my grandmother was on holiday at the time, and before mobile phones, my dad phoned through to the hotel and found out that she was part of a group that had gone to the Winter Gardens in Bournemouth to see a show. Now, the hotel rang there, and they couldn't identify where she was sitting. So the manager decided the best option was to announce my arrival to the entire theatre from the stage in the interval of the Val Doonican show, in the hope that she'd hear the news. I'm sure there are many people here that can claim that one, but don't worry, I'm not going to start singing Paddy McGinty's Goat to you. Yet. Now, I don't know if you remember the words from one of the pieces of music we played earlier. Once I believed that when love came to me, it would come with rockets, bells and poetry. Well, on this occasion, it arrived on the 0907 Southern service from East Grinstead. It was at 10:04 AM on Friday, the 24th of July 2009, that we first met IRL. That's internet shorthand for in real life, in case you had one. Having corresponded online for a little while, at the barriers of Platform 8 at London Bridge Station. Thankfully, we did recognise each other, and although I was nervous, Carolyn perhaps was even more so, even though she did cover it well. But it came apparent quite soon with how at ease we both were within just a short day, that although we'd perhaps only been talking for a week, this was not just a date, but the start of something special, which led to what we celebrated a few hours ago. Now, those of you that have read our engagement story on the website will know that I proposed to Carolyn during a trip on the Chichester Canal on the first anniversary of that first date. The canal boat was called Egremont, and what we didn't realise when we chose the date today is that today is actually the 744th annual Egremont Crab Fair in Cumbria. It's strange how these things come together. Now, it's often at this point in the groom's speech that he presents his new wife with an extravagant gift. Now, I thought, okay, I need some help here. So I emailed lots of people to get some great ideas and received one reply: "I'm out of the office till Wednesday." So undaunted, I thought, okay, Google, let's see what others have done. So I found out that sometimes people buy their new wife an expensive car. Now, that would be silly because we got a nice car last year. So I thought, okay, what about a personalised number plate? And then I found out how much they were. So I settled for the next best thing, Carolyn, which I hope you'll enjoy. A picture of a car with a number plate featuring your new initials. Bizarrely enough, was actually taken outside the caravan. Okay, now a little something else for you. Which where was it? Where's it gone? Oh yes. Right, it's not important. Right, a little card for you that we received a few weeks ago. you like to read it out?
On your wedding day. Wishing you a wonderful wedding day and a lifetime of happiness together. Congratulations. To Carolyn and Andrew, have a great day. All the best for the future. Love, Rick Astley.
I do have a little presentation though for you. Sammy and Leonie, I believe you've got a little box. Bring it over.
Thank you very much.
Yes, open it. Otherwise, I'm losing a page. Yes.
Thank you.
You may laugh, but this is an antique. It is a family heirloom. Back in ancient times, well, 1971 when my parents got married, they were given this rolling pin as a wedding present, along with a fan heater, an egg poacher and an orange footstool. In the fullness of time, it was passed to me. Well, actually, Mum got a new one, but that's not quite so romantic. Now, I give this to you as the next Mrs. Down, and hope that in due course, we can also pass it on to the next generation. Now, take a look at this rolling pin. I bet you think it's just for making a pie, but there's much more to it. As well as a weapon, 2 handles, one for the bride, one for the groom. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried rolling pastry holding just one end, but it doesn't work. However, together, we can manage a lot more than we can individually. It's round, like our rings, no start and no end, symbolising the love that we share, with a smooth, flat surface, representing the path that we hope life will give us. Using both handles, a little pressure, life's little bumps can be overcome, just like those on a piece of pastry. And if life gets a little sticky, dust it with the flower of love, and we'll be just fine. Life is a journey, and just like the one a rolling pin takes, as we roll through life's challenges together, the end result is always worth it. Now, I've never really understood all this raise your glasses thing with the speeches, because when I raise mine, I can't see diddly squat. But it would probably take forever to thank all of you that have had an input of some description in our day. So if I've forgotten any of you, I hope you'll please forgive me. But of course, first of all, thanks to the ladies of the bridal party, Bev, Kelly, Andy, Leonie. I know you've put yourself through so much today with all the dress fittings, hair, makeup, and all these other things us guys just don't understand to look almost as beautiful as Carolyn does today. Thank you for supporting her in the run-up today and for making everything go so smoothly. Ladies and gentlemen, a toast to the bridesmaids. The bridesmaids! Next, of course, the men of the bridal party, Duncan, Robin, Andrew and Sammy. You've done a great job of organising people. We haven't even taken the electric cattle prods we bought out of the boxes yet, and I'm sure it will continue throughout the rest of the day. It's a stipulation for weddings that the ushers aren't allowed to look better than the groom, and I'm pleased to say they've done a fantastic job. Thanks guys for an awesome day. To the guys. Thanks again to Andy for making such a wonderful job of doing the buttonholes, bouquets and corsages. to Pamela and everyone else who helped in setting the room up this morning. Wendy, Pauline, for your lovely work on the cakes, which we'll get to sample later. Stuart and Paul for our blessing service, and Sarah for the song, and Becky for doing our reading. Should also thank all the behind-the-scenes people that have made today so special. Roy handling the music, David and Debbie doing the video work, John, our photographer, the band that you'll be hearing later, the staff at Hampshire Registry Office, Bob at Croydon IKEA, and many others. Raise your glasses.
Everyone.
Finally, I should also thank our friends at the Hitched Wedding Forum that have enjoyed our roller coaster journey that is wedding planning with us. Their invaluable help in sharing ideas that helped us make our day what it is. And in particular, our date twins, Vic Mast, Laura KS, Nat W0603, GSI Jane, Gabs, Giggler M, and Knitting Vixen, who have also got married today. It's tradition on the forum to post good luck messages to users getting married, and I printed ours out, which is over on the table if you wanted to have a read. Now, it's traditional that throughout the speeches, the ladies of the bridal party sit there quietly smiling, looking pretty, pretending not to be bored while the men waffle on and on and on and on. But that doesn't really seem right, does it? So I'm going to hand over to my lovely new wife for a few minutes to give you a break from listening to me.
Mine isn't really a speech, but a poem I would like to read to Andrew. Yes, I'll Marry You by Pam Ayres. Yes, I'll marry you, my dear, and here's the reason why. So I can push you out of bed when the baby starts to cry. And if we hear a knocking and it's creepy and it's late, I'll hand you the torch, you see, and you investigate. I'd like to pause here, if I may, to tell you of a little story. The night of the day I found this poem, Dad, Mum, Andrew and I were all asleep. It was 2 a.m. and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Oh, sorry, wrong poem. When all of a sudden our 2 dogs started going absolutely crazy, barking their heads off. Both Andrew and I are light sleepers, so I was awake within seconds. And before anyone else, I was down the stairs and opening the door. Mum was a few steps behind me. Where were these big, strong men, I hear you ask? Andrew at the top of the stairs, and Dad's still asleep. Andrew's excuse was that I was nearer the door. Why do I get the feeling he'll be handing me the torch to investigate? Well, as all as well as it turned out to be Pamela arriving home for a night out with friends. Anyway, back to Pam Ayres. Yes, I'll marry you, my dear. You may not apprehend it, but when the tumble dryer goes, it's you that has to mend it. You have to face the neighbour should our Labrador attack him. And if a drunkard fondles me, it's you that has to whack him. Yes, I'll marry you. You're virile and you're lean. My house is like a pigsty. You can help to keep it clean. That sexy little dinner, which you served by candlelight, as I do chipolatas, you can cook it every night. It's you who has to work the drill and put up curtain track. And when I've got PMT, it's you who gets the flack. I do see great advantages, but none of them for you. And so before you see the light, I do. Sorry, one last thing before I hand you back to my husband. I would like to extend our thanks to both Gary Stewart for our reading and to Ibiemi for singing our hymn. Thank you both very much.
Okay, now, next, of course, I also need to thank my parents, as without them I wouldn't be here in the first place. Now, as you will have heard earlier, that my dad unfortunately isn't very well at the moment, so he had to pull out a couple of days ago. I know he would have loved to be here, but he sent a message to us. Dear Andrew and Carolyn, We are so very sorry we can't be with you on your special day, but Dad is too ill to travel. We wish you love and happiness and we'll be thinking of you. We hope you have a wonderful day and we'll see you soon. Love, Dad and Jean. So let's just raise our glasses to my parents. Now, my mother has never been one to use 5 words when 20 will do, and has followed in Granny's footsteps in being able to talk for Britain if it was an Olympic sport. She'd like to say a few words as well. I hope you're sitting comfortably. We'll pause for a break in about 45 minutes.
Please bear with me. I'm not very good at this, but I've had a good teacher. Anyway, first of all, I'd like to welcome you all here today on Andy and Kazzy's special day. I hope you all enjoy yourselves, as I'm sure you will. We had a phone call on the 24th of July 2010 with the news that they were engaged. Andrew proposed, as he's already told you, on a romantic canal trip in Chichester, and they've been together ever since that first day at London Bridge Station. They get on really well. Kaz is a warm, friendly, kind person, and I hope they have a very happy life together. Andrew is my son, but he's also my friend, and will help anyone. Even when he was little, he would help me in the kitchen and like making biscuits for his granddad. They came out strange shapes and colours, but it's still eaten anyway. Green, blue, black, you name it. I'm sure if his gran and granddad were here today, and I'm sure they're watching somewhere, they would be very proud and happy for them and welcome Kaz to our family. So raise your glasses for a toast to Auntie and Kaz and wish them every happiness for their future together. Sorry it's not very long. Cheers. Cheers. Oh, and this is just a little something to go with the rolling pins. Good, it had to be done.
Thank you very much.
I'll hand you back to Andrew.
Last. Let's light the candle.
Are they apple flavoured?
Don't eat candy.
No, I can smell apple. Oh, the apple scented.
Last but not least, of course, my thanks must go to Duncan, my best man. Well, the best I could find that was available and within budget anyway. But seriously, thank you for all your help in the run-up to today, for getting me here nice and early, breakfast at that famous Scottish restaurant chain, McDonald's, and for not leaving me upside down, naked, painted green, tied to a goat and handcuffed to a lamppost in the middle of the M27 last night. No, I was adamant I did not want a stag night, as excess alcohol, humiliation and such like, is just not me. But he organised an excellent day out for us on the Bluebell Railway, with a guided tour around parts of the railway that aren't normally open to the general public. So thank you again, Duncan, for ensuring the only stripper I encountered was for paint during the tour of the carriage shed. Now, for some strange reason, the groom has to present his defence before hearing the best man making the case of the prosecution. Now, I have no idea what stories he's going to tell you about me, although he may thrill you with our rail tour escapades. But my character is so unblemished. Having said that, I do actually have a police record, Walking on the Moon, and a couple of Sting solo albums. But for entertainment purposes, he might make up something, particularly about, actually, he might have forgotten that one. So, please take anything that he tells you with the appropriate quantity of salt, providing that it isn't going to cause a world shortage. I'm sure he'll have plenty of nice words to say to you about it. Ladies and gentlemen, over to Duncan. What's that drinks are on you?